So you can buy these things. What is the typical God helmet gonna set me back if I want to if I want to meet God, if I want to write the next The Invisibles, but I don't want to go to Kathmandu to meet the chrome blobs? Fucking, how much is this gonna set me back?
It goes for about $500. I think like the exact price is somewhere around like 680. But I mean, think about that for a second. Like $680 for this incredible life-changing experience, and you have like an 80% chance of actually getting it.
Yeah, how do you know if you're getting like that? I have skepticism around all this shit, you know, like just capitalism, not the paranormal. Buying. How do you know you're gonna get the real thing?
So that's what I wanted to talk about with Richard Dawkins. Like, okay, so the most common reported experience while wearing the God helmet is something that Dr. Persinger referred to as the sensed presence, which is essentially this feeling like you're not alone. And again, this is something that is experienced all around by 80% of the people exposed to the helmet. But what's interesting is that, okay, so I mean, you know who Richard Dawkins obviously is. He doesn't have any kind of, he doesn't believe in it. He's an atheist. He's like a militant atheist.
Yeah, that's his brand, at least.
Yeah. So when he tried the God helmet out, he got not a goddamn thing. And thinking about like the fact that it's just interesting that he, being not very predisposed to religion, did not get anything out of it. There was this little part in this documentary that I watched on this where this priest, I can't be asked to remember his name, but he was talking about this interesting theory about certain people who are more religiously talented than others. Like, the theory goes that the right hemisphere of most people's brains are hardwired for religion, which is why most people get this experience, why 80% of the people who use the helmet get the experience.
I feel like using words, like, I feel like the whole discourse around this thing is incredibly primitive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The way people say it's a God helmet, that it's the brain's wired to religion and stuff like that. It's very fucking I don't know, BBC News on a slow news day.
It is absolutely that. These are experiences that were done in like the 80s. So I mean, that was totally like,
I don't know, fucking Mothman Prophecies was written in the early 70s. You know, the Fortean vocabulary has been. Charles Fort died in the fucking 30s or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, like the 80s, like, atheist movement was like big coming up, and they were like, oh man, we're gonna disprove God and we're gonna do all these things, and they came up with all these theories. You know, the Charles Dawkins.
So they set down the lines for the terms that can be used in the discourse. Like, it was atheist versus religious people, and the fucking Fortean folk that weren't even represented in fiction all that much outside of fucking what's that movie? Contact? Not Contact. Communion. I think that was the only like weird like psycho paranormal like the only movie that showed like that the aliens in that movie like somehow reacted to Whitley Strieber's mind, and that it was like a psychological journey for him, externalized into the physical world rather than like aliens and UFOs showing up. And I don't think we really got much of that in the media at all until like Silent Hill came out.
Yeah. I think something that I find kind of interesting about that you brought up the fact that Charles Dawkins' like ancestors were like slave owners. And I mean, like, there are plenty of religions in which, you know, the sins of your ancestors can reflect poorly on you and your ability to commune with the other side or whatever. I just thought it would be interesting to consider the idea that maybe the fact that Richard Dawkins is having such a difficult time connecting with the spiritual realm is because, you know, his entire bloodline was kind of really shitty.
Perhaps, or the fact that they were dedicated to, like, a huge part of the whole materialist op to begin with was to dehumanize indigenous people for believing in stupid things, so they could be sold as slaves. So there is a huge amount of people on his bloodline who were, I hate using the word bloodline, it's a fucking Nazi eugenicist concept, but in his ancestry, in his family, that were dedicated to wiping out the humanity of indigenous people and, you know, demonizing or devaluing their spiritual processes. So that's saying that like look, we're mad raving, so let's rave mad. That's saying that this dude is you know, is who he says he is, that it isn't all just an act.
Ooh. I mean
he probably is who he says he is, because,
but I mean, is he being manipulated?
Yeah, manipulated by his ancestry or just his place in Empire, because Empire, you know, from an animist perspective, has intention. That intention could involve just creating a fucking dumb, annoying dickhead who's good at saying, he's good at like smarmy sound bites that make idiots feel smart.
He is a dumb, annoying dickhead, but he's not just a dumb, annoying dickhead, like, in terms of the people that he's influenced, because he's influenced some edgy fucking atheists over the years to, like, worship him religiously, and, like, he is, like, the person that all of these edgy teenagers will go to. You know, they're mad at religion, which is, that's fine. Like,
you're gonna read the book that says the God Delusion on it in big bold letters.
And I get what it is to be, like, angry at your religious upbringing, and I get what it is to be, like, an edgy teenager and to, like, go to atheism and be like, oh man, this is all bullshit. This is for sheep.
I'm gonna live life to the fullest, man. I'm not gonna fucking depend on prayer, man. I'm gonna go jump off rocks and shit. Yeah, heavy metal.
But I think the most interesting thing about the God helmet and, like, the whole concept, I was watching this little 3-minute video, and there was this professor who was talking about how this might affect the future of religion and spirituality. He said that before Dr. Persinger died, and he did die actually kind of recently in 2018, he was working on incorporating the God helmet into virtual reality technology.
Oh, baby. That sounds fun.
Imagine that for a second. Imagine, like, going to the store and, like, oh yes, I would like, you know, Nirvana, thank you. I would like to commune with God.
That sounds dangerous.
That sounds incredibly dangerous, but frankly, that's fucking capitalism for you.
Like VR like is kind of, like, VR is kind of frightening. Like, if you have put any stock into the legitimacy of not even that, you don't even have to go into the legitimacy of shamanic journeying or astral travel, as people call it, as, like, actually going to a real place, like, but just putting any stock into the idea that the human imagination can get so vivid that you can get into a state where you can't tell the difference between your imagination and reality when you get into enough of a heightened state, and that you could feasibly go to these deep worlds of your imagination and learn things, I believe, about the world, the external world around you. As you know, shamanic practitioners say, you know, they can speak to plants and their ancestors and learn about medicine and learn about things. Or you could, from a more materialist standpoint, you could just say you can learn about your subconscious this way. But, and obviously, like definitely, there's no arguing with the fact that you can do this to bring back beautiful works of original art. And VR is like just a shitty version of that. And it's not only is it a shitty version of that, but it's a shitty version of that actively stunts your ability to access those mind states yourself.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of frightening. I've played some VR games; they're fucking sick. But VR and video games in general, kind of like, do you ever notice that when you play like a bunch of like Doom or something, that you go to bed and you close your eyes and you're drifting off and your mind's just showing you Doom really vividly, and you dream about Doom, and you dream about Resident Evil and stuff. Like it in fact it like colonizes your fucking imagination. Yeah. And like I fucking love video games. Don't get me wrong, but like it is insidious and kind of gross.
I completely agree, and I am 100% on board with the idea that there's no real difference between like the realms in your head and the realms in real life, like especially with dreams. And because I mean, in the end, there really is no difference between experience and
yeah, it's
walking.
All just what you experienced while alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Just on a sliding scale of like consensus.
Mm-hmm. And like the idea of bringing these experiences into the VR world, where you can literally emulate basically reality. You can create your own reality pretty easily, actually. And I mean, like, I used to go to this virtual reality arcade in California, and it was
that's very William Gibson.
I'm sorry?
That's very William Gibson.
It's almost, if it wasn't for the fact that I wasn't wearing this giant clunky thing on my face, it would be almost indistinguishable from real life. Like, it's very, 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 very realistic. And the idea of incorporating this, incredible out-of-body experience. Imagine having that kind of experience while living in a virtual reality world where you can literally create the world around you. And
yeah, imagine, like it reads your brainwaves or whatever. Like, that sounds fucking sick. That honestly sounds really cool. But when you talk about that, I just think of like, I don't know. I think of like MK Ultra and shit like that. Like, I think of that being used against me. But at the same time, like, that could be cool. Like meditating, like smoking a bunch of weed and meditating with the God helmet on and VR, so your anxiety like takes real clear forms, so you can deal with it better. That sounds cool.
I will say, like, on the directions, it specifically says not to mix drugs with the God helmet. I mean, obviously I would, but, and I think most people would, and I think most people who have, like, actually bought the helmet, which actually is not a very large amount of people, definitely have. But that actually reminds me of this thing I was reading about a couple of days ago, where people would like take acid and then go into those sensory deprivation chambers. Those
sorry,
what's up?
Take acid and go in sensory deprivation chambers?
Yeah, while high on acid.
Right.
And it would be like literally, they described it like they literally are taking a stroll through their own subconscious. There is no difference between the thoughts in their head and the world around them, because they have completely disconnected from the physical world at that point.
That sounds so fucking sweet. I would love to try that.
Yeah, that sounds genuinely fucking incredible. And you got to think about like what that would
I've never done the sensory.
What's up?
I've never tried the sensory deprivation thing, but the idea of like being able to physically let go so much and being like suspended in fluid. How good does that just sound like as a fucking muscle relaxer? Like after spending weeks and weeks and weeks at your fucking office job, fucking up your spine, and then just being fucking suspended in fucking fluid. That sounds so good.
Yeah, that sounds genuinely incredible. I've heard it's like really addictive too. Like if you look at these people that do this, they got to do it at least once a week, and they always look the same. They're like really pale, and they have like, bags under their eyes, and they're like fucking addicts to this thing, man. And
I've not seen that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like
there's not a lot of that in Ireland. There's like 3 sensory deprivation places in Ireland, and I don't think the rich people are buying themselves tanks over here.
Yeah, I've never done it. I've only seen like a documentary on it. But I have talked to somebody who did it, and they describe it like at a certain point, when you're not on LSD, at a certain point, the thoughts in your head become indistinguishable from real life. So, reading about this one person's experience doing LSD, lying in this sensory deprivation chamber, like, I mean, you've been on LSD before. Imagine like all of those visuals and like laying back and thinking about things. Imagine that being completely indistinguishable from real life.
Yeah, that shit sounds good. Because like when I've had my like most intense psychedelic trips, I've been sort of like, you know, when I get a chance to really cut loose, like at night in the wilderness or whatever, I've been searching for like the idea of like climbing into like a pod, like into a void where I'm like safe, but I can also do anything. Like that sounds fucking amazing. Like because one of the biggest things in like it, like I love taking like big doses of psychedelics at night, and like being out kind of in nature and like running around the place, just throwing myself around the place. But there's always that thing of like, well, what if I like fall off a cliff or like run into like running in an open field in a full moon at night on psychedelics is amazing, but eventually you're going to reach the edge of the field. You know what I mean? And that's always in the back of my head. And I never, you know, I'm fucking sensible. I'm not going to just go well and just keep running and test that and see, because part of you feels like you could just run infinitely because, you know, you're in a magical liminal space, but then the mind kicks in and it's like, fuck, if I keep running, I'm going to run into a barbed wire fence. And then sure enough, the barbed wire fence appears the next second and you got to stop.
And it's not even just that. It's like, you know, tripping, or, I mean, like physically tripping over and like hitting your head on a rock, or, you know.
Yeah, like that's also a huge risk. That's one that I kind of like. Yeah.
I mean, there's any number of risks.
I push the boundaries of that a bit when I'm on psychedelics, because it's kind of like me wanting to get in touch with my body more and like exert a mastery over the physical world that, like, you know, in a sober state I'm kind of too meek to do sometimes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
But the danger is there, but like it's just a matter of like how rationally can you think, how rationally can you pilot this, and how much danger are you willing to put yourself in? Yeah, and for the sake of like spiritual experience.
Yeah, and in my experience with psychedelics, I have never felt like more the master of my own fate while tripping on like LSD or shrooms or something. And, you know, like the idea that I could do that and feel that in a space that is completely safe, because I mean, in essence, that's what video games are. I was thinking, actually, there is, so you're talking about you know, sigil magic. If we're gonna be, you know, crossing the God helmet with VR, with also, you know, possibly being on LSD, mixing in some magic with that, there is this VR game, I think it's called like VR Create or something. It's basically like a drawing game where you can draw in 3 dimensions. Imagine doing some sigil magic with that. But I mean, like, at least this is my understanding of sigil magic. It isn't like the idea that sigils are essentially a way to communicate with your subconscious, creating a language that your subconscious can understand. Imagine creating that while under the influence of this God helmet, while inside a VR machine.
Yeah, that sounds dope as hell. And there's a certain thing, like me, I have a friend who is real like has a really intuitive knack for astrology, and also a deep grasp of like the Kabbalah. And she was trying to explain to me like where my life goes on the tree of life and blah 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 and all this stuff. And through the conversation, like sort of practical ideas, like more practical than not directly practical, but actionable ideas about journeying on the Kabbalah and using Kabbalah significance and meditation to further my life and like evolve the ways I connect to things like intellect and emotion came up. And something like that, like fucking God helmet, VR, or psychedelics and the sensory deprivation tank, or some kind of abominable The Matrix style combination of all of those, would be the perfect way to do that, because we have these like Kabbalistic icons and images connecting the paths and stuff that I could focus on, and then like now that would be how you experiment with something like that for sure. Like ritual magicians and Kabbalists and astrologers and stuff, like there's a lot you could do with that, like magically. And don't get me started on fucking invocation, spirit contact. Like, there was you know the show Hellier? Have you seen Hellier? They used the God helmet in that to some really interesting. Yeah, in season 2. But between seasons, they live streamed a God helmet session in the cave where they found the tin can at the end of season 1, and they got a name that ended up coming back in the middle of season 2. And then toward the end of season 2, they put what was his name? Tyler Strand, the guy who's always like, let's run down that cave, I don't care what shows up, we'll punch it in the face, the Indiana Jones type guy. He puts the God helmet on, but it wasn't just the God helmet, it was like this super crazy God helmet that this fucking dude living in a trailer in Arizona made, that he said that like aliens showed him how to build. Like, it was like God helmet plus alien edition. And Tyler put that on, and then like apparently got possessed by the Archangel Michael. He got like really warm and started talking in this like real smug voice and saying all this crazy shit.
I still need to see the second season of Hellier, but that sounds fucking incredible.
It's not as good as the first season. It's really like I watched Hellier like 3 times, and the first time I thought, wow, it's really great that there's like a ghost hunting show talking about Fortean and stuff. Mm-hmm. The second time I was like, okay, this is super interesting. There's a load of details I didn't pick up on before. This is crazy. And the third time I watched it stoned out of my mind the third time, and I was like, this is all fake. I was just like there's so much shit in this that they're just saying happened that they don't have on film. This is all fucking fake. Like fuck this. And I even posted it on Twitter. Like, I think I've watched Hellier 3 times, and now I'm sure it's fake. And the Hellier crew liked it. But then, like, just a few weeks ago, I got The Secret Cipher of the UFOnauts, which is this. It was one of the first books to really blend like the alien theory with folklore and magic. And the guy who wrote it, Greenfield, he redid the Bornless Rite, which is like an Egyptian exorcism. It's kind of like a ritual where the magician declares themselves as having mastery over all the spirits, and he rewrote it with the names of aliens from abductee cases, because according to him, those are the kind of the Goetia of the new eon, sort of.
That's interesting. That
all those weird alien names like Orthon and stuff that and Indrid Cold.
Oh, I think you were telling me about that. Like, you posted Indrid Cold's like sigil or something at some point.
Yeah, we should be trying to evoke these aliens as if like they were goetic spirits, and that's what Greenfield rewrote the Headless Rite to incorporate some of this stuff. So I did that one day. It was like sunset. I could see the stars. I was standing on a crossroads, and I read it out. And there's this whole motif in Hellier about this is one of the things that really made me think it was fake. About balloons, about star balloons. They go and they talk to Alan Greenfield, who wrote The Secret Cipher of the UFOnauts, and he's like, oh, the thing you're seeking will fall right in your path. And then they're driving down the road, and they find a fallen tree, and this like blue star balloon is floating there, like a helium balloon out in the middle of nowhere. And like the blue star is Sirius, which is the Sirius star, has loads to do with like alien contact and magic and stuff like that. And then all throughout the rest of the show, they find these weird balloons. And like there's this one video where like their friend sends this video of this weird helium balloon. They found this blue star balloon that they found in the middle of nowhere. But they put this like vignette around it. Well, you know those like this is found footage vignettes where it shows the flashing recording sign and the battery and the time and stuff like that, which is really obviously fake, and that really turned me off. But the day after I did the Greenfield Headless Rite, I went down to the bog behind my house where I had been walking. I'd been going on walks down in that bog because the weather had been really nice, and I found a fucking star balloon.
Oh wow!
The day after I did that thing. Now it was deflated, but it was there, and it wasn't there the day before.
Huh.
So whatever the fuck's going on with Hellier, it's certainly interesting.
I was thinking actually, there is, so you're talking about sigil magic. If we're gonna be, crossing the God helmet with VR, with also possibly being on LSD, mixing in some magic with that, there is this VR game. I think it's called like VR Create or something. It's basically like a drawing game where you can draw in 3 dimensions.
Oh yeah.
Imagine doing some sigil magic with that.
I think it's called ZBrush? No, it's not. Never mind.
But I mean, like, at least this is my understanding of sigil magic. It isn't like the idea that sigils are essentially a way to communicate with your subconscious, creating a language that your subconscious can understand. Imagine creating that while under the influence of this God helmet, while inside a VR machine.
Yeah, that and wearing the God helmet could be a way to reach those peak experiences to fire off sigils for sure. Like there's something, technology like this. It is like in the same way that they sent people to the moon using a fucking shitty 3 kilobyte computer in the 70s. Like if all of society wasn't based around like buying and selling bullshit and like making money, the amount of cool shit we could do with the technology we have is mind-boggling. Like if we open our minds to what we could do, like think about it. Like I think if we had dedicated more time, any time in the last like 100 years to like trying to understand crow language or dolphin language, actually putting money into that and technology into bridging the gap between species, like the progress we've could have made.
Absolutely.
Like when you start thinking about stuff like okay, what if we use like VR technology to do magic and engage with the spiritual? It's like great, but any like that sounds amazing. In a world like this, like although it is getting cheaper and cheaper, and solar energy is also getting cheaper and cheaper. Well, right now it's only rich fucks like Joe Rogan that can do things like get in fucking sensory deprivation tanks and VR and shit like that.
God, fuck Joe Rogan.
And a lot of these motherfuckers are like people like Elon Musk and shit. What the fuck are they doing with their free time?
Elon Musk,
I bet they're not doing. I bet they're not doing cool.
He's the world's biggest superhero.
They're not doing cool shit.
Super villain.
He wishes.
Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
He's just a fucking gamer. Like that's all he's doing. He's fucking like that. That's what Elon Musk is doing with VR in his spare time. He's playing fucking Minecraft.
Hold on 1 second. My wife is calling me.
My wife.
Hello?
Well, how do we want to wrap this up? I think we should have something more interesting to say about the God helmet, some fact or whatever. Talk about that for a bit and then wrap it up. So you got anything about the God helmet that we could
hold on, let me go through my notes.
Wind this down on. Apparently they've never been able to replicate it.
Yeah, okay, so getting back, I'm assuming this is where the cut would be, and then getting back to the conversation. So during the experiments, like the initial experiments, that was the only one where Persinger was like convinced that all of the things were perfect. All of like everything was set up perfectly, and pretty much all of the experiments since then have been like not failures, because they have been able to replicate the experience in some people. And, I mean, the skeptic in me wants to look back at that and say, oh, well, that's just his excuse for it not being able to work a second time. But I do think that everybody's brain is a little different, and I think that it is difficult to replicate that specific experience, if that makes any sense, because like again, this is one of the most intimate, incredible experiences that any human being can like, can have. So I think that trying to replicate that in perfect conditions could be next to impossible. You know what I mean? So I guess, like,
I mean,
right, so go on.
There's the potential that that person's helmet was just haunted.
That is something.
Like, it's I'm looking at this here, and apparently Swedish researchers tried to build replica. Persinger said they didn't replicate it, not even close. Some people have tried to recreate it, but with placebo tests, it seems that some people got effects even from the fake helmet.
That's interesting.
Which is a placebo is always fucking mind blowing, and they said that they think it's just based on how suggestible some people are, but I don't know. Like I don't fucking know. Maybe the helmet. Maybe the helmet. Apparently, a Persinger, a group related to Persinger, have been able to make new ones. Mm-hmm. That those are the ones they sell, so they say. But, like, I don't know. I think neuro spiritual technology is really fucking suspect, and also just like when you start to look in the world in like an animist sense and stuff, the idea like the potential for just like this dude made a haunted helmet one time and it works because it's his fucking haunted helmet that he made, and you can never make it again because the fucking juju just stops working. Kind of like there's more room for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the idea of trying to mass produce something like that,
I mean, it kind of goes against the point.
I don't know.
The experience itself.
Yeah, maybe it's very fucking confusing. The world is very, very strange, and our fucking brains cannot process it in the state they're in at the moment. Maybe even if we were running on some high fucking nootropics diet, we'd still never be able to figure it out because we're geared to find berries and nuts and
we're not geared towards like mass producing the god experience.
Haunted helmets. Yeah, no, that's not. It's not biologically what we fucking do. Because, I mean, if you believe indigenous spiritual practitioners, we can just do that with our meat. We don't need a fucking metal thing on our head.
Yeah, that is true. So, end thoughts. What are your full thoughts on the future of this? Like, what do you think this is gonna do, if anything? What do you think it could do? What do you think we could do if we were to focus on this kind of technology?
Frankly, personally for me, just right now, sitting here at this moment in time with the things that I'm thinking of in my brain, I think it could be really interesting for directed journeying using frameworks like the Kabbalah and stuff, where you have icons and images that are really, really strong and are, you've got like an astrologer saying, if you connect to this sphere of the Kabbalah, you can unlock this part of you that has been more repressed or whatever, and then use the God helmet, using different things to like meditate and journey on that kind of thing and experiment with that. Right now, that's what I think a good use for that. If the God helmet even fucking works,
yeah, it could.
That's what I would want.
It could just be a big scam.
Yeah, that's what I would want to use it for, and that's what I want to use it for. I want to try that shit.
I absolutely, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good end note. Would you try the God helmet?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I'll try anything.
I would absolutely try the God helmet. I'd probably get brain cancer or something, but I'd give it a shot.
What are your thoughts on it? What's your major theory about what the hell's going on there, if any?
Well, I think that, I already said earlier that our ability to perceive certain things, the fact that we can perceive them kind of makes them real in that sense. So I don't think there's really any difference between stimulating that part of your brain and, just having that natural experience or, physically meeting God. I think that I'm going to be frank. I think technology that can mass produce something like that could actually be maybe dangerous isn't the right word, but like unhealthy for people spiritually. Like, I mean, it just kind of takes away from the entire experience. You know what I mean? It kind of puts it on a mass produces it, and just kind of makes it less important, I guess.
Every single thing you said there cut out with, like, I didn't hear a single word you said. I have no idea what you just said, but that's fine because those that was for the audience. If you want my thoughts and your thoughts, though, if you could summarize them now that you've gotten them out of your head, I can respond.
My thoughts are, it's cool, but also really fucking dangerous. In the end.
Yeah.
Like,
dangerous how?
In that, like, mass producing that kind of experience and like just trivializing it can kind of take away from that, and it kind of be unhealthy, you know?
Yeah, it's as I said earlier on, it like narrows the discourse. Like, the way they've gone about it has narrowed the discourse to these very, very loaded terms. There's a lot of loaded language in how people talk about it, and that is dangerous. It's also really fucking dumb.
Absolutely.
Like, the whole thing is goofy as fuck.
It's probably the goofiest thing I've ever read about. I'm not gonna lie. All right, I think that about wraps it up.
Awesome.
We good to go.
Cool.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Should we promo ourselves or whatever? Fuck it. Like, this is the first episode of our little podcast.
We'll just fade into silence.
Yeah, we are your mysterious hosts. Mysterious hosts. No, we should give our names. I'm Emmett.
I am Chase.
And we have been your hosts. This has been our Mad Ravings.
Ramblings? Mad
Ramblings?
I think, Mad Ramblings. Yeah, what was Mad Ramblings?
Cross my heart and hope to die. I wish blood on my enemies. For any penance, I'm leaving out of this sentence. And it's not revenge if it evens out. The demon's out. I won't pretend I'm not screaming loud at the people now. I'm out the vodka, how I deal with insecurity. The purity is how I see abusers flinging moves at me. It takes me back to almost jumping off the ceiling. While pumped on all the pills and almost lunging off the building. Mama keep telling me to ask the Lord for forgiveness. I want war with these bitches. I want corpses and weapons in the morgue. I'm the story that Dr. Crowley envisioned. I want horrible things if there's no recourse for my sin. The caution to win. I show no remorse in the end. I'm not for amends. I'm cautious from the awful events. It's awful again. But this time before I do it, I clean my fucking room so when they find me, I'll be